Let's take a look at some charts on Litecoin from this week's article on Brave New Coin. So I posted a lot of charts and images in the article. I tried to slice and dissect, and anatomize LTC in a way that I could find some modicum of bullishness, and there really isn't anything there. Spoiler alert. It's really hard to be bullish on LTC right now. If we look at where it's been since the halving, it's largely just followed the rest of the crypto market. It has not followed its own path, made a new low, new yearly low in March, and since then it's just followed everything. Doesn't look great from a price perspective. LTC has 2.5 minute block times, so the total circulating supply is 4 times that of BTC. LTC is one block reward halving behind BTC, so its current inflation is around 4%, whereas Bitcoin's inflation is currently around 2%. Looking at the GitHub, they really don't do any specific innovation on the main hub, at least that you can see from a commits perspective. It's mainly just Adrian Gallagher merging BTC updates onto LTC, and you're not going to see that until it's merged, I don't think. So although it looks like there's no activity and no one working on this, Adrian Gallagher is working on it from a perspective of he will continue to implement BTC improvements. Now, one thing that they are doing, this is the Litecoin Improvement Protocol repo, is looking into Mimblewimble and extension blocks. These allow for off-chain, side-chain privacy solutions. The concern here is that extension blocks are basically allowing for a black box where miners can do their own thing and then remerge it onto the chain. So I think they'll actually implement this eventually. I still think it's risky. I think it's good that a non-BTC chain is doing this and it's being experimented on elsewhere. Similarly to SegWit. SegWit was first on Litecoin, where it was deemed safe in that it made sense. It didn't destroy anything, and SegWit adoption just keeps increasing. You can see a nice upward trend line here. SegWit is basically a way to save on fees, save on block space, and increase total block size. Looking at transactions per day and average transaction values, they essentially have just followed price ever since late to mid 2018. So, price went up in mid 2019, price went down, and transactions followed. If you zoom in on just this part, it's just been kind of flat. It's certainly up week over week recently, but average transaction values haven't followed. In general, though, average transaction values and transactions per day are higher than they were historically. This nonsense was when BTC was expensive and the chain was full, so more and more people just moved over to LTC. Looking at LTC's unconfirmed transactions, you can see in general they hold below 200 on any given day, and on off-peak they're below 50, below 25. Basically there's really no massive jumps over time in unconfirmed transactions. Even these jumps are less than 500. So on any given day, this dates back since November 2019. On any given day, LTC is pretty open from a transactions perspective. Looking at block size and average transaction fees in the fill here. Again, block size mainly staying in this range since 2018. I don't actually know what these spikes are, but in general, again, it's above the historic range, certainly, but it hasn't really done anything exciting since 2018. Average transaction fees are way below a penny, so that's good. Basically, despite this increase in activity, average transaction fees have stayed near 2017 levels. And again, this craziness was when BTC was super full. Transactions on any given day during late 2017 were probably at or around $1. This is a weekly average. So it definitely got more expensive to send on LTC as well, which is cryptomania and just BTC being full. Looking at NVT, which is an inverse metric of economic utility, and monthly active addresses. Neither one is super bullish. They're both kind of in the middle of the road. As far as NVT is concerned, what you don't want to see is this spiking and dropping, because this generally says on-chain utility is flat and NVT is just relative to price at that point. Price is up, price is down, price is up, price is down, price is up, price is down. This is mid-March, and on-chain utility is just doing nothing. And another thing you don't like seeing is post-July 2018, NVT is much higher than it was pre-January 2018. NVT doesn't account for inflation. at least this specific version of it. But in general, you don't want to see NVT higher than it was historically. Monthly active addresses, again, just have been down ever since January 2018. They hit a multi-year low in March, and now they're at a multi-month high. And historically, they're way higher than they were. So that's great, but nothing exciting over the past 2 years, really. Looking at MVRV, this is one of those metrics where you take the market cap relative to what's actually being moved on the chain. If you treat it as an oscillator, this is the buy zone, this is the sell zone. And you can see on March 12th, it dropped quickly into the buy zone and recovered pretty quickly. So historically in a vacuum has been a pretty good buying opportunity. And it also says being near the buy zone that there's a lot of upside potentially. So this is decently bullish from that perspective. Looking at hash rate and difficulty, since the halving on August 2019, hash rate dropped 70% or about thereabout. It hasn't really recovered most of that. It's kind of just ranging here. Now, there haven't been any new ASICs. This is for the script algorithm. It mines LTC and Doge. There haven't been any new ASICs past March 2019 that are publicly known. So this increase in hash rate isn't likely a stealth ASIC just because it isn't like a massive spike. You know, it isn't just a month over month as they're being produced before they're shipped. They're typically added to the network. So I don't think that's the case. This is probably just price spiked down and then it spiked up, a little bit. And that's kind of just what we're seeing here. But in general, at 4 cents per kilowatt hour, most of these are not profitable. You can see it's all negative, negative, negative. So unless LTC price goes up a decent amount or there's a new, more efficient ASIC, I expect hash rate to just remain flat. If we look at Google Trends, I look at a lot of coins that I am able to look at Google Trends if their name is unique, like Litecoin, Bitcoin, that sort of thing. And you can see this is the most bearish, probably from any perspective. It's just flatlining. At all-time lows, it says there's no grassroots interest as far as what is Bitcoin or what is Litecoin, where do I buy Litecoin? If I zoom in post-2018 even, it's still way, way down there. There's no increase in organic search activity there. If we look at technicals, we got Bitfinex long-short ratio, VPVR, yearly pivots, 50 and 200 EMA, volume, and RSI. And in general, 50 and 100, the key psychological resistances on the way up. I don't expect this to move independently of BTC like it did early 2019. I do not see a Adam and Eve like there was here. I don't even see an inverted head and shoulders. There's really no pattern here that says this looks like bullish reversal. The 200 is also around 50, so is this massive volume resistance node. And then even on the way up, there's resistance at 80, 85. So it's going to take some time. I think this isn't just going to be a massive spike up. It's going to need several consolidations at 50, at 80, at 85, at 100, at 115, at 120. So it's not going anywhere fast, I don't think. Nothing exciting on RSI, no bull divs, no bear divs. And Bitfinex long shorts are, longs are up since the drop March 12th. Shorts are down, but in general, nothing too exciting there. Looking at the cloud, the safest long is above 55. Now you could take the trade from here to 55 to the long side, just based on flat Kumo equals magnet, 50% retrace. Most coins have already hit their 50% or exceeded it. LTC hasn't. So there's perhaps a rotation play there. But in general, you want price to be above cloud if you're taking longs. So the long trigger isn't really until 55, at least with confidence. Sometimes there are these multi-month trends. Sometimes they're a week or two. Sometimes it's 200% in a month. You don't know what you're going to get. Sometimes it's this multi-month trend. But in general, if it's below the cloud, you short. If it's above the cloud, you long. And we're kind of just in turtle soup, meaningless, sideways ranging right now. So until this goes strongly below the cloud again, I'm not going to touch it myself personally. And really the long side is above the cloud. Now, LTC BTC hit new multi-year lows, and it does not look good. Way below the 50, way below the 200. If anything, there's an argument for a mean reversion play, a stab in the dark, catching that knife. Just catching that knife in the dark. That's basically what it is. Because there's no support on the way down. There's really very little historic price action down here. just in the abyss. I wouldn't want to touch this until there's some sort of falling wedge bull div situation. I mean, even putting bids at like all-time low is probably a good idea. You never know with these illiquid altcoins where they're going to go. As far as the upside, there's just tons of resistance because it's ranged pretty tightly most of its life, below 0.21, above 0.05 in general. So maybe the risk reward from that perspective says it's a decent play, but really until BTC hits an all-time high again, or something thereabouts, some crazy spike, I really don't see LTC outperforming BTC. In general, BTC outperforms LTC until all-time high or a local high, and then people rotate into LTC. It's really not the other way around. So even if BTC increases 10% on any given day or week or month, LTC probably also goes up, but much to a lesser degree, 2%, 5%, something like that. So even that would, continue to droop this ratio down. So it really just doesn't look good. Any way you try to slice it, it looks like it's headed straight to the core for LTC BTC, at least in the near term.